Hello everyone, I'm Winifred Boyd and you're watching The Tree of Avalon and Ask a Witch with
Reverend Mark Angelo Lyons. Hello.
cheers to you all. Good morning. We do these in the morning.
Yes, Thursday mornings.
So what are we talking about today?
Well, when we were putting together possible topics, we had all these really deep, heavy, things we were going to talk about, doing one on the Sabbats and the chakras, which we'll get to.
Which is important to
It is
understanding the other
important.
podcasts.
But it is waning moon in Capricorn, last day of winter. Tomorrow is vernal equinox of star. I know, my head is like so ready to hit the table. So when he called last night and said, why don't we do the thing on readings? Well, she gave me all these different things, and when she said readings, like, ooh, tarot. Oh, that's like automatic pilot. I could do that. I could talk about tarot blindfolded, which doesn't really stop anybody, does it? From talking about it. So, yeah, I'm ready to go. I've been reading tarot since I'm 12 years old.
And you're what now, 40?
40.
Okay.
So,
a few years of experience.
I've been called a tarologist, which, I don't know if there is such a term, but yeah, I know a lot about it because it's something I've studied consistently. Tarot is one of those sciences in the esoteric field, like runes or herbalism or astrology, where you never end. You never end with the learning. It just keeps going. There's always another interpretation of the cards that you can learn and integrate. And I am very happy to say that since I became a reverend, I no longer have to say for entertainment purposes only when I read someone.
So this is actually for healing purposes?
For healing purposes. I call it spiritual counseling, hopefully for upliftment. But before we actually get to the readings, there are some things I wanted to discuss with our, I always want to say listeners, that's the normal response.
Well, we're used to doing
viewers,
podcasts.
Yeah, so our viewers. So that they should know certain things before getting a reading with people. And a lot of this is from my personal experience, not just as a reader, but also as a client.
Okay, so get you out your pen and paper, folks, to write these precautionaries down.
It's almost like you should have a Bill of Rights. Like, you talk about a patient's Bill of Rights when you go into a hospital. Going into a reading, I think there are things that people should know ahead of time. Like, number one, a good reader leaves you feeling uplifted. Even if it's all bad news from your point of view, which there is no such thing as bad or good news in a reading, it's all neutral. But there's a difference between leaving dejected and depressed, obviously, and feeling uplifted and clear. Clarity is really, really, really what divination in general is about, let alone tarot. It doesn't matter the form of it.
So it's more about guiding somebody in appropriate direction for them instead of whacking them with the ironing pan of faith. Fate.
Fate, which, I've had to do that too. I've had to say to people, look, if you don't clear up this issue, there are horrible things coming down the line. Like if you just lie and lie and lie and lie, I don't think anybody needs a reader to tell them that consistent bullshitting people, it's going to come back to you. It's just karma alone. So that's one really important thing, is that a reader's job, in my opinion, many things are included in this, but is to uplift people. Hopefully when people leave readings with me, and this is how I don't let them leave until they really understand that they have choices they can make in their lives. I don't get on with the idea that readers are the be-all, end-all. And I don't think any smart reader puts themselves out there. You're opening yourselves up to lawsuits when you do that anyway. But there's a big difference in my mind between giving someone a prediction and giving someone clarity. And that's why I don't consider myself a prediction-oriented reader. And none of the people I train, because I do train readers, I'm a good teacher that way. I can take what I do. They say those who can't teach, well, I can, and I teach.
Well, it's a certified course, too.
Yes, I certify people, which means it's based on my name. They go through quite a training process, but we can talk about that in a minute, because I think this is a foundation. When I train people, I say to them, you're not giving prediction. That's not the idea. You're giving a reading. A reading is an indication of the present moment. Like, okay, temperature. You look at a thermometer, you're getting a temperature reading. Now, instead of looking at atmospheric temperature, let's look at an oven's temperature. You can look at what you have the dial set for, but we all know that's not always so accurate. You get one of those oven thermometers so that you can see exactly where it is. Now, that's not telling you where the temperature is going to be 2 days from now. That's telling you this is where the temperature is right now. And if you have something that really needs an oven preheated at 350, that's vital information. Because then you can make choices. You can say, well, I have it on 350, but it's only reading at 300. So then I have to adjust.
Right.
To me, that's a better description of what divination does in terms of being a service. Because it shows you this is where I am right now and what choices, what shifts, what decisions can I make to get myself to where I want to be. And I think that's way more helpful and it's way more empowering. Telling someone what's going to happen to them, whether it does or doesn't happen, is robbing them of empowerment. To me, it's choice theft.
Well, it's also, it's that line in the Matrix. It's sort of, well, did you think you were going to do it? If you thought you, basically, it goes back to if you put the thought out there, it can manifest.
Yeah, and that's why I say to people,
even if it wasn't going to.
This is why when I read people, I say, well, with what's going on in your present moment, this is what's probable. But that doesn't mean it's written in stone, because there are so many dimensions of time that anytime you shift the way that you think, yeah, maybe that's not true. Not every thought you make shifts your dimension of time that you're in. But if you see that there is where you are and where you want to be, and all of these different roads to get there, you're going to end up where you're going to be. Right. That's called fate. Path of how you get there can very much be about destiny. And that's, I try and be a reader of destiny, saying that you have choices to make. And whether those choices empower you or not along the way is really what the journey is about, not necessarily where you end up.
I like the term path cards because you're sort of giving the options of a particular path to reach a designated goal.
Well, you drove from Westbury today?
Yes.
Okay. You could have gone so many different ways to get here.
And I came over Ocean Parkway.
Right, which is my favorite way to go to Nassau. Always, always. But certainly, that's a long route.
A little bit longer than taking Southern State.
It's a little bit longer than taking Southern State. Or, God forbid, Sunrise Highway all the way with all of those lights. I'd rather be nibbled by mice. So that is a good metaphor, though, to say, well, a reader should say, well, look, these are your paths. These are at least the ones that are being shown to me. In other words, anybody who sits down and tells you that they are the be-all, end-all and that they can tell you what's going to happen, run. That's not their job. Their job is to say, these are the options that are on the table.